My intention here is to come as close as possible to the semantic yet pre-linguistic meaning held in our bodies, the common essence which we extract from all the objects, actions, or situations the word refers to, and that we store, distilled into a vector that almost has form, in a bodily repository to be accessed and transformed by language. It is in this transmutation from felt meaning into comprehensible language that a certain something is lost, a remainder that speaks of the bristling relationship of humans with the abstract, incorporeal systems that they create or discover, be they language, mathematics, or AI. To do this, I look inside a neural network structure to extract the units of meaning which it uses to form its understanding of the outside world. Guided by a key step in the development of written language, I arrive at symbols that represent concrete nouns but bear no resemblance to them, using them to cut my usual connection to language and replace it with one which involves my entire body. I then try to use this new avenue to utter a poem. In the space between what I intended to say and what my physical limitations with respect to the abstract system of language have allowed me to say, lies the remainder, the shapeless object I am after. The successive symbolic transformations in this piece mirror a crucial process in the development of written language that took place in Sumer around 5,000 years ago. The jump from a pictorial symbolic script that represented objects out in the world to a script that represented the phonetic units of spoken language. In this example, water was pronounced a and used to be represented by two wavy lines. These lines, stripped of their bond to a concrete object, then came to represent the phoneme a. The process that I'm about to describe will work for any text with enough concrete nouns, but for this explanatory video I will be using a poem by Paul Celan. In his poems, he tears sentence construction and words apart in an effort to break down and reshape the language, to leave a mark on it, doing all he could, as Derrida puts it, to carry out a hand-to-hand bodily struggle with it. In doing so, he very clearly embodies the paradoxical relationship of any speaker to their language, one of constant and inescapable mutual molding, where the tool user becomes fundamentally changed by the tool, and vice versa. A convolutional neural network is a kind of architecture used in the field of AI that is particularly suited to classifying images. These networks are trained using millions of photographs until they, using structures that are comparable to the organization of neurons within our brains, begin to condense their understanding of the outside world into recognizable units of meaning. For instance, tasked with the process of detecting a dog, early layers of the network will be looking for fundamental components of any image, such as edges or curves, while later layers will build upon these simpler units to form more complex structures seeking features such as floppy ears. These intermediate inner conceptualizations that the neural network is built for itself are used as stand-ins for our inner repositories of pre-linguistic meaning. As I feed into the network pictures of the objects or beings referred to by the concrete nouns in the poem, I extract these units of visual meaning and combine them into a single, synthesized symbol that will come to represent said noun. This process is analogous to the aforementioned invention of phonetic script, since these new symbols now refer directly to the neural network's units of meaning, without being hindered by having to actually resemble the objects they represent. And so, a sort of dictionary is established, linking these symbols to a corpus of nouns from Celan's works, which means the range of the speaker will be constrained by what has been said before. All he can do is recombine. With these symbols replacing the poem's nouns, the performance can now take place. It consists in the speaker's attempt at stating the original utterance with his usual connection to language severed. Speaking now involves materializing these symbols with his entire body, not just his mouth or wrist. The tension driving him forward is the expectation of any spoken utterance to not be sparse beyond comprehension. Words need to arrive at the listener at a certain pace or the message will not be understood. An AI specifically trained to match the painted symbols to the corresponding words in our dictionary reads out these words at regular intervals at a rhythm wholly disconnected from the speaker, who will struggle to produce, erase, and produce again accurate reproductions of these symbols that will get progressively more muddied as the sediment of what was previously said accumulates. What results are two different statements: the original poem, that original parcel of meaning that the speaker tried to convey, and a second poem, that which his temporal and physical constraints actually allowed him to say. If I could subtract one poem from another and look at the remainder, I would. As of yet, I cannot, so I hope to point at the perceivable yet inexpressible shape of their difference, at the almost tangible space between them that holds the offering ignored coupling that ties us to language, the system on which are built our relationships, society, and perception of the world we live in.